Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first day of Newconomy's Battle of the Companies conference. I'd like to welcome two of our guests, Sandris Murins and Suhas Hedge.
Thank you.
These are two of the experts in the blockchain space. I'd like everyone to remember at the end and during our interview here, you can vote for the best VR companies. Right now, we're going to be talking a little bit about virtual reality. And at the end, we're also going to ask Suhas what are his top three companies. Suhas, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Thank you, Sergi, for the brief introduction already. So let me start a little bit about myself. I'm basically a computer science engineer with keen interest in software engineering, encryption, privacy. I'm a strong advocate of free software, open source softwares, basically. And I love creating open data models and open collaboration models, especially in the fintech space. So I have been the ambassador for one of the largest UTXO blockchains, DigiByte blockchain. Since the early times, I have been a strong supporter. And I also am the Waves Business Council. So Waves is one of the largest crowd-funded, platforms. It's basically a decentralized exchange. It must be pretty popular in Russia, right? So I'm also a part of a fintech influencer and think tank group called Crypto Trust. It's a global think tank group mainly focused on Bitcoin and blockchain. I was also the senior software engineer at Nasdaq, the world's second biggest stock exchange, where I basically worked on protecting cybersecurity data without losing forensic detail, where I was sort of encrypting data without impacting for basically like high processing of the trade volume that was happening there. Also, I worked on the Ethereum blockchain. I'm familiar with the IPFS protocol. Um, Sometimes I have coded smart contracts. I also run a blockchain-focused fund. It's a pretty small fund that mainly focuses on investments in the blockchain space, where there's new emerging technologies.
So that's giving me the feeling that if you talk about the things that you haven't done, it might be a little faster. Sounds like you've done everything in the industry.
So yeah, I've been pretty passionate about the industry since 2015. Yeah, that's pretty much.
All right, and Sandris, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So I'm helping build I'm helping to build crypto companies or crypto startups. So far, I have helped to build free companies. One in 2016 in New York. Now it's called FIC Network. Is a blockchain infrastructure for bonds. Then 2 years ago in Germany, first European token accelerator called Iconic Lab, and now it's asset as well as token asset manager, and we are developing as well asset management as a service, like technology for institutionals. And last year I helped, and so far I'm helping Ukraine team to build a blockchain protocol for decentralized development. I'm in blockchain space since 2015.
Fantastic. Now, can you guys tell me where are we in the virtual reality world? Briefly, where did we come from? And also, what's the gap between what customers want and what they're currently getting from the VR space? Suhas?
Right. So as we can see, there's been quite a lot of interest in virtual reality almost since early 2010. There have been a lot of attempts to, sort of achieve virtual reality-based products. But then we have seen that the major adoption actually happened when Pokemon Go came out.
Right.
A lot of people who are basically installing the game and like very curious about how it's being used. Also, it's sort of giving a very different feel to the way people interact with the products. So we have come a long way. I still think there's a ton of things that can be done using VR, especially it could be the use of virtual schools where it could connect like remote villages in the developing world,
Right.
especially countries like countries in Africa and Asia where connectivity itself is an issue. So I believe that we still have a long way to go because VR not only requires creating the virtual environment, but also creating a sustainable infrastructure for it. It could be internet connectivity, or it could be the VR devices, stuff like that. So we are still sort of in the exploratory phase as of now. That's what I believe. I think Sandris could probably give us more insight about his thoughts on the same.
Great. Sanders, what do you think?
So I'm not a huge expert in VR, but I can say two things. One regarding my own observation regarding how technology adapts and diffuses, and second regarding how it's connected with or converged with blockchain space. I my what I saw from Google Trends, observing Google Trends on virtual reality, as well as being in Berlin since 2016. And then I could say that at least I think end of 2016 was very booming. This technology was very booming, and in Berlin, like each second day was a meetup devoted to this topic. Mm-hmm. Now it's significantly less. So some kind of this technology, I think, start getting less attention than before. Now it's more about artificial intelligence, and nowadays even a little bit less than less blockchain. That's one thing. Second is regarding blockchain space. I would say what I saw that there are two applications. One application is regarding games. We know that one of emerging subfield of cryptos is blockchain games or tokenized games. Mm-hmm. And in that field, of course, VR could be very important because, to my mind, the main native use case or the biggest use case of virtual reality technologies is games. Second, what I saw in different projects in Europe, so there are projects which build different digital museums or blockchains for digital art, which is like mostly aimed to be stored and watched in a digital way. And then there is as well like attempts to bring to put some digital art on the blockchain, store it in the blockchain, maybe sometimes tokenized, and give access to this digital art through VR technology.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, being able to walk through a museum without having to leave your house. Now, would that also require you to, like, what happens if you walk into a wall, if you're trying to walk down the hall in virtual reality world?
So I can say I have experience only with VR. Okay, on my own, I have this Samsung VR gear set. I think yes, it's called. I have never done it that. I can try. Is this evening, and you can ask me like after 1 week how I succeeded in. But it's mostly, at least these technologies, what I use is safe. So it's very hard to go out of some comfort zone. It's usually, I think, from my experience, I have never moved 1 meter. I never crossed 1 meter radius around me.
Yeah, one time I was thinking, have you ever played the game Capture the Flag?
No.
Capture the Flag is when you have two teams. It's kind of like paintball, and you have to like run around and grab a flag and then take it back to your base. And I thought maybe if you have like a big field, then you could play Capture the Flag. But the problem is, what happens when you run into other players and our internet speed's fast enough? Maybe Suhas, you could tell us, like, where are we with the actual sets, the VR sets? to be able to play a game where I could run around a field and catch things. Perhaps I could play in a field in one country and you're playing in a field in another country and we could interact
Yes.
with each other.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So,
Yes, I think it's very nice technology. Yes, and it's very nice use case to play to to be on the one team from different countries and different places.
exactly. We've seen the power of games where people join from different countries. Like for example, the viral game PUBG. So it's a brilliant game where a lot of players from different parts of the world are joining. So imagine similar situations where where it's actually in the VR. So when it comes to devices, like you mentioned, we saw Google Cardboard, where they initially came out with DIY kits where we could just like print out the blueprint of the same on a cardboard and just build the headset. From there, we've come a long way, all the way to I think Oculus Rift, which has introduced their Rift, which is becoming increasingly popular. But then these devices are sort of giving us an idea of how the future may look like. Um, Not only will it be used in the gaming industry, but also I see applications where there's a saying around lately that you don't actually have to be in the Silicon Valley, to be
Right.
doing and building great companies and projects. So in the future, probably like a few years down the lane, we just have our VR headset, and then I'm logged into my office in the valley. Really brilliant applications out there. I think infrastructure will eventually continue to grow and support the ecosystem.
And Sandris, what can you see for the future of VR?
Future of VR.
Is it going to be attached to the? How can we attach VR to the blockchain?
To my mind, it's quite easily regarding blockchain. To my mind, it's two simple things for me and from my perspective. From my perspective, VR is mostly medium for games.
Mm-hmm.
And second is that we see that the different blockchain games are start emerging, and it may be finally will be quite big field, and this could be the most natural thing. So you just build games.
So making virtual and digital assets tangible also will be possible through blockchain, right?
Right.
Because we've seen in-game tools and in-game assets. So these assets can be properly. So there's a huge market for this too in the gaming industry. So when it comes to sharing of assets and digital goods, I think blockchain will definitely help in the VR space.
Right.
Especially,
So you're saying that gaming can be helped by both the blockchain and by VR, but
yes,
there are two components
Yes,
of.
yes, yes. It's like ideas that you have, for example, different kind of gaming points or game tokens, so you can interplay different ways among games and etc. You can stand tokens in the games which you can exchange, and for example.
But
And
how long is it going to take until we have a
content
time
could be
where we're using VR in
content.
games?
What?
I mean, how long is it going to take where we're using VR for blockchain games?
I think it's not question about VR. It's more about question of games.
Right.
So gaming industry of blockchain seems to, at least there's huge traction of attention. So it's quite it's a field which gains some traction. So and when we will start, will be better and better, and will be more and more games which you can play and with different kind of tokens. Then of course there will be games and content which will be distributed via through through VR. And of course, second, I think technology where VR would be beating other ones. It could be all this adult industry.
Mm-hmm.
and I think sooner or later, and announced there was some projects or attempts to build different kind of tokens and blockchain ecosystem regarding this industry as well. So I think when these two industries will emerge more in more mature regard, particularly in blockchain and blockchain and token usage, then of course we'll have all these VR things.
And what's the benefit of the blockchain when it comes to tokens and paying in that industry?
You mean adult?
In the adult industry, is there a benefit that comes from tokens?
Maybe it's just getting out of some middlemen. There's different all sides and etc. I don't know. I'm not particularly into that industry, but to my mind, at least what I can say from VR perspective, this is an obvious use case.
Right. Possibly there's a way for anonymity.
Yes. So, like along with anonymity, also there's fungibility of assets, which is a very important quality, right? So basically, like sometimes, like say in-game assets or digital assets could be like very expensive. So they can probably be shared amongst, say, like five different friends, and it can become affordable. So blockchain sort of makes these tokens very fungible. The introduction of tokens makes the assets very fungible. It's a huge advantage, especially considering the traditional, way the way games are working right now.
Can you give us an example of the fungibility?
All right. So it could be something as basic as say like in games when it comes to games. Something like so there was this game where like people could design these spaceships. So these spaceships, some of them were like pretty expensive. So a friend of mine and I, like we sort of pooled in our resources, and based on how much we pooled in, we had a share of the spaceship, and there were like limited number of spaceships. So then again, like you can actually know that there are it's a limited edition, because you can go and verify on the blockchain that actually these many number of digital assets that have been created.
That could be an interesting idea for VR, where you and your friends could actually build a spaceship together from different areas and also pay for it together.
Exactly, and not only that, like you can like devise like revenue sharing models through smart contracts, which is again a major advantage there.
So is that if you want to rent your spaceship to someone and send them to Mars?
Yes, yes. So a lot of interesting experimental stuff happening in this space. Be it even stuff like Decentraland, which is coming up with virtual land, right? So what I foresee for the future is probably like if you own a land space there, you could probably rent it out and stuff like that to office space, stuff like that too. So there's just a ton of possibilities.
What about commerce? Is it possible to go shopping and walk through a mall?
So for commerce, basically, like like we could probably have stuff like when we go clothes shopping, right? Like so, clothes is one of the main things that is bought through e-commerce, be it like Amazon or the other fashion outlets online. So imagine having an option to actually try out those clothes virtually and see how they look on you. So
Right.
stuff like that will like be really very interesting.
Like a virtual mirror.
Exactly, yeah. So a lot of possibilities out there, especially in the e-commerce sector too.
And who's building these platforms right now?
Well, some of the platforms are being built on Decentraland. They are like pretty well funded, and there's an active group of developers working there too. In fact, recently I submitted one of my designs there. So there are these various shops in Decentraland, various businesses who are sort of building these industry-specific outlets in Decentraland itself. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our guests, and I'd also like to remind everybody here on day one of Battle of the Companies to remember to vote. Vote for your favorite VR company. Now, Suhas, at the beginning, we asked you to prepare your favorites, maybe the top VR companies that you're interested in. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah. None of what I say is obviously investment advice,
Right.
but of course, there are a few companies that sort of intrigue me, and I'm sort of impressed by what they want to do. So out of the in the VR space, I've been observing that World Oppo. So these guys are doing some brilliant stuff out there. I see that. I think it's mainly a group of Russians who are trying to build. The team's probably from Russia, right? It does look like a brilliant project, especially when I saw their roadmap. It's a pretty impressive project out there. So, World Oak was definitely one of the companies I liked. And then there is Seek VR. Seek VR is again a very interesting project because I could basically understand their future plans, and not only their future plans, but also their sort of getting production ready. So that kind of impressed me. Um, and then um, I think like Hyperion X also is an interesting project. So these are the companies I'm mainly sort of looking out for.
Right.
Um,
All right. Thank you very much, Sandris and Suhas. Finally, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Huobi, the most secure digital currency trading marketplace. Thanks, guys.